I remember the exact moment before everything changed. I was standing in front of the mirror, my heart pounding like a drum against my ribs. It was just a waxing appointment, right? So many people do it. But for me, it felt like a huge leap into the unknown. My eyes, which someone once called ocean eyes, felt wide and vulnerable, reflecting all my fears and insecurities. They were swirling with a million what-ifs. What if it hurts too much? What if I look weird? What if I regret it? That girl in the mirror was holding on to so much hesitation, so much self-doubt, like she was afraid of her own shadow. She was all fluidity and emotion, a vast, uncertain sea. Little did she know, she was on the verge of discovering a strength she never knew she had. That drive to the salon was one of the quietest car rides of my life. The radio was on, but I couldn't hear the music. All I could hear was the voice in my head, listing every reason I should turn back. Society puts so much pressure on us, defining what is beautiful, what is desirable. And I was chasing one of those definitions, terrified that I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Was this for me, or was it for some imaginary future partner, for the validation I thought I needed? The fear wasn't just about the physical pain, it was about the emotional exposure. It felt like I was literally stripping away a layer of myself, and I was scared of who I would be without it. The air was thick with my own anxiety, my hands were clammy on the steering wheel, and every traffic light felt like a sign to just go home. Walking into the salon, the smell of warm wax and calming essential oils hit me, but it did little to soothe my nerves. The esthetician was so kind, her voice was gentle, but I could barely make eye contact. I felt like a little kid, lost and out of her depth. As I lay on the table, staring at the ceiling, I took a deep breath and braced myself. And yes, let's be honest, the first moment was a shock. A sharp stinging sensation that made my whole body tense up. For a split second, I thought, I've made a terrible mistake. All my fears screamed at me in that one instant. My eyes probably welled up, blurring the ceiling into a hazy white canvas. It felt like every insecurity I'd ever had was being pulled to the surface. But then, something shifted. After the initial shock, breath by breath, strip by strip, a strange calm began to settle in. The esthetician kept talking to me, her voice a steady anchor in my sea of panic. She told me to breathe, to relax my muscles, and as I started to listen, to focus on my breath instead of the sensation, the pain began to fade into the background. It became a rhythm, a process. It was no longer a terrifying monster, but a manageable challenge. With each pull, it felt like I was shedding more than just hair. I was shedding years of self-consciousness, of feeling like my body wasn't truly my own. I was letting go of the anxieties that had been clinging to me for so long. It was in that quiet, sterile room that I had a kind of revelation. This wasn't about anyone else. This wasn't about fitting into a mold. This was an act of claiming my own body. The pain became a rite of passage, a physical manifestation of pushing through my own mental barriers. The discomfort was temporary, but the feeling that was growing in its place was something much deeper. It was a sense of ownership, of power. I was choosing to do this for myself, to see what was on the other side of my fear. It was a strange mix of vulnerability and strength, lying there, trusting a stranger, but more importantly, trusting myself to get through it. The process became almost meditative. Inhale fear, exhale resolve. When it was all over, the esthetician handed me a mirror. My hand was shaking a little as I took it. I was almost afraid to look. What would I see? Would I even recognize myself? I slowly lowered the mirror, my eyes hesitating for a second before focusing on my reflection. And there was silence. The loud, chaotic noise in my head was gone, replaced by a profound, grounding quiet. The skin was smooth, clean, and perfect. It was my body, but seen through a new lens. It felt pure, not in a societal sense, but in a personal one. This was me, raw and unveiled. And I wasn't scared anymore. I was in awe. I got back in my car, and this time, I turned the music up. I sang along to every word, my voice clear and strong. I felt a lightness I hadn't felt in years. When I got home, I went straight to that same mirror where my journey began. I looked at myself, really looked. The person staring back at me wasn't the same girl from a few hours ago. Her face was the same, but her eyes, they were different. The soft, uncertain blue of the ocean had deepened into a rich, earthy green, like a forest after the rain. They were calm, steady, and held a new kind of wisdom. They weren't reflecting fear anymore. They were reflecting a quiet, unshakable confidence. That's when I understood the metaphor. My ocean eyes represented that girl who was full of shifting tides, her emotions easily swayed by the opinions of others, vast but vulnerable. She was beautiful, but she lacked an anchor. The wax, the pain, the overcoming of fire was a storm that didn't destroy her, but instead, washed her ashore. And on that shore, she found new ground. She put down roots. She became the forest. The forest eyes I saw in the mirror were grounded. They held the quiet strength of ancient trees, the resilience of life that pushes through the soil. They held the peace of a hidden clearing, a serenity that comes from within. This experience wasn't just a glow-up, it was a rebirth. It taught me that self-care is so much more than bubble baths and face masks. Sometimes, it's about facing discomfort head-on to find peace on the other side. It's about doing the things that scare you in order to grow. The smooth skin was just a bonus, a beautiful side effect. The real transformation was internal. It was the feeling of taking control, of making a choice for my own joy and confidence. It was a profound act of mature femininity, of stepping into a version of myself that is unapologetic and self-possessed. It's a sensual energy, yes, but it's serene. It's a power that doesn't need to be loud. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see that forest. I see strength, growth, and a deep-rooted calm. I learned that my confidence doesn't come from external validation, but from my own journey of overcoming. It's a reminder that beauty isn't about perfection. It's about the courage to embrace your most authentic self, scars, fears, and all. And that journey, that transformation from a worried ocean to a peaceful forest, started with one brave choice in a small, quiet room. It was the moment I stopped being afraid of my own power. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with me. If this story resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd like and subscribe. See you next time.